Hello, everyone. It is Monday, August 3rd. Welcome to another episode of Together San Diego. I'm your host, Luis Cruz, Community Relations Director for the San Diego Union-Tribune. Joining me this afternoon is author and screenwriter Guillermo Munro Palacio. Mr.
Thank
Munro,
you.
thank you very much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm very grateful.
It's my pleasure. First off, congratulations. You were recently nominated for an Ariel Award, the most prestigious honor in the Mexican film world.
Right.
The award is known as the Mexican Oscar. You were nominated in the Best Adapted Screenplay category for the Mexican film Sonora. So
Uh-huh.
tell me how this movie came to be. I understand it was 20 years in the making.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to make something clear. The we are nominated. John Sayles, which is a very famous screenplay. He did the shooting film, the screenplay. I wrote the original screenplay, so we both are. We are both nominated. Uh-huh. And what was the question, please?
So tell me how this movie came about.
What is it all about?
Tell me how the movie came about.
Oh, okay, okay. That's mostly lucky, but also perseverance. Uh, I had this screenplay for 20 years. In those 20 years, I wrote a novel and two novels with the same subject. So I started writing this as an outline for the Latino groups Nosotros. On those days in 1975, 74, there was no big character, Mexican or Latino characters in movies. Nowadays, it's beautiful. Everywhere there's Latino music and Latino screenplays and movies. But in those days, there was nothing. The Latinos were just the background or something, and everybody was worried. So I thought it was a very good idea to write something. I never wrote nothing before that. So I started going to Pasadena City College to learn about filmmaking, cinematography, and also I went to a very special, very special uh, college that it came out. They used to call them Sherwood Oaks Experimental Film College, and they had they invited people on the video, actors, producers, uh, people from the industry, but also they teach you how to film. They also teach you sound and the old moviola editing, the way we used to do it, moviola. So I wanted to do that, something like that, and I went to all the speeches because I paid for the whole semester, and that way I watch Jack Nicholson, Bruce Dern, all kinds of gurus and producers. And one time I was lucky because the speaker was the president of Universal Studios. Uh, and when he finished, his talk was legal aspects of filmmaking. When he finished, I approached him. I went to him and I says, I don't remember it was Westerman, but it was something like that. And I told him, I belong to Nosotros, a Latino actors group, and we like to learn about making a movie. And I asked him, what do I need to do? And he said, first of all, you need to have a screenplay or the rights of a book to make it into a film or or an idea, a project. Uh, and then suddenly he starts speaking Spanish, and I was very surprised, and he noticed it. He noticed I was surprised because he switched right away, and he says, "I'm from Argentina. My family were from Israel, and we moved to Argentina during the war, World War II, and I was raised there. But I came to the United States to do my career, which was a lawyer, very famous lawyer. He had an office in Rodeo Drive. So, anyways, he told me how to do, where to go, and I started going to the libraries and looking for material. I read a lot of the books. On those days, there was not too many books about screenplay. Now it's thousands, I guess. But on those days, there weren't anything. So it was very difficult for me at the time. It was very difficult for me to do that. But I found a book that I liked, which is With a Pistol in His Hand. It was written by Americo Paredes. He was a musician, a music teacher in Austin, Texas University. And I wrote to him, and I explained that we want to make a movie. The movie was based upon a corrido, the Ballad of Gregorio Cortez, and still you can find them still in some places. But anyways, I traveled over there. I talked to him, and he said, "Yes, that's very good. I'll help you." So, excuse me.
I do want to cover all of that, but I do want to show a clip so people know about the movie that we're talking about.
Okay.
The clip is it's about 2 minutes long. It's in Spanish, but for those people that don't speak Spanish, we'll come back and we'll go over it. But I want people to see what we're talking about here.
Okay, so he wants to know about Sonora.
Yes.
Okay. In Sonora.
¿Qué está pasando, Paco?
El presidente Hoover mandó cerrar la frontera. Prohibió que todos los vehículos extranjeros pasen en sus carreteras.
Por violar las leyes sanitarias, queda clausurado este lugar.
Mucha gente va a querer salir corriendo de Sonora.
Y la mayoría van a ser chinos.
Vamos a ofrecer viajes por el desierto.
¿Estás loco?
Hay que llevar a unas personas por el desierto.
Es muy peligroso. Es la época más caliente del año.
Pero algo le dicen el camino del diablo.
¡Socio!
¿Qué les pasó? Hey, ¿a dónde van? A Mexicali. No podemos dejarlos en el desierto.
Más que no se me acerquen.
Hay algo allá adelante.
Es una masacre.
¿Quién carajo son estos?
Estaban a punto de morir.
Pues que se mueran.
Chinos huyendo, gringos perdidos. Pesadilla.
¿Hay algún pueblo cerca?
No, solo desierto.
Contrabandistas creen que pueden cruzar solo por traer gasolina.
Usted no sabe nada de los chinos, por eso nos tiene miedo.
Si no hallamos el carro, nos vamos a morir aquí.
Se le olvida que no está con toda su banda.
Esperaba que se enfríe y luego echarle más agua. Lo que me faltaba.
Wow, that movie is deep. Sonora was based on your novel La Ruta de los Caídos, or The Route of the Fallen. It depicts Mexico in 1931 when the U.S. closed its southern border due to the economic crisis, and Mexicans were being deported. At the same time, Chinese Mexicans were victims of discrimination in Mexico. Do you believe, Mr. Munro, that the issues raised in the film are all still relevant today? Talk about that.
About the things that similar,
right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I can tell you that when I wrote it down, it was based on what's happening in between United States and Mexico, the Great Depression, the deportation, and then the people were very poor in Sonora. And they start getting against the Chinese people. The Chinese people were there in Sonora because Sonora was a desert. There was not too many towns, and Porfirio Diaz gave permits to every country that wanted to move to Sonora to have more people in it. There was a lot of Apaches, Indian problems in Sonora, and they wanted people in there. Frenchmen came, Americans came, also the Chinese came. But then, that was in 1900. Then in 1931, when the Big Depression came in and everybody was looking for a job in Sonora, they didn't like the idea of the Chinese being there, because the Chinese, they're very hardworking people. And they did a lot of factories. They did shoes factories, business, grocery, and also farms. They farm a lot, and the people didn't like that, so they started taking their things away from them, the business, the land, and all the things that happened. So anyways, I thought it was a very good idea to put into that car a metaphor of what Sonora was, which was the Chinese, the lady who was running away from because of the church problem, and she wanted to move to California or Baja California. There was a lot of things, and then there was a Chinese a secretary of the anti-Chinese committee, the secretary who didn't like the Chinese, and he was going to Baja California, because in Baja California they were receiving Chinese from Mexico and from the States. And so they went into the same cars to do that, to make a committee in Mexicali against the Chinese. Also, they were doing something else. They were getting Chinese away. They took people, the Chinese put them in a boat and say, take them away. And the people who take them away, sometimes they just left them in the dunes where there was nothing, in a place called El Chinero, and also in the Bahia Aldair dunes. And they say, just walk a few kilometers and you'll be there in Mexicali, which is not true, and they died. A lot of people died. It was something very cool.
Mr. Munro, why was it important for you to tell this story?
Why do I want to tell the story?
Right.
It was something very humane, talking about the Chinese, talking about the situation over there. I thought it was a very, very, very humane. So I wanted to tell that. But also, the driver who is a Indian, a Tohono O'odham Indian, it was a very, very good character. That character it was for real. He was a driver for my father and for my grandfather. And if you remember the movie, Luis, there's a lady who's towards the end of the movie. She helps him with water, and then that lady in real life, she is the daughter of Emeterio, the Indian character in the movie.
Wow.
So it was a real person, and we were lucky to have her in the movie.
We have a few pictures of you on the set.
Mhm.
I believe, is this you taking pictures here?
Yeah, I'm the one taking photographs in there. Uh-huh.
And then here you are standing next to one of the model cars there.
That's correct. Uh-huh.
Tell me a little bit about, you've had a chance to go to some movie premieres.
Uh-huh. Yes. The first one we went to Morelia, Michoacan, which was in 2018. It was like a red carpet, as you can see right there. And the tall man on the right, this is John Sayles, very great screenwriter who worked along with me in the movie, the screenplay. And everybody's there almost. This is a very big night inside the theater, the Morelia Theater. And then we did one in Hermosillo. This is my family, part of it, part of my family, because we are 9. My wife, she's Kathy, my wife. She went along with me, and she's with me right now.
That's great. I should mention. I mean, you're quite the inspiration, sir. You're 77 years old. You've in reading the notes here, you had a number of health issues for the last 12 years. Tell me a little bit about some of the health issues that you started facing starting in 2008.
Yes, in 2008 I had a stroke. My brain, something happened with my brain, and I lost the view. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see anything because the neurons they burn out. They burn out. So I went to the hospital, and the neurologist says you won't be able to see anymore the way you used to see. But I started doing exercises that I invented, like going from one corner to another corner. Anyways, I started getting better. And I started looking twice, and then I started looking weird, seeing like figures that they were there. But I get over it. Like in 8 months, I was pretty good, more or less. Then I had a very bad cancer, and that cancer was very bad. So I went to the hospital in LA. The doctor was a very famous doctor. In this, they did surgery in me. They call him robotic surgery, which is it's in front of the students over there in the university. They have a hospital, but they also have a big screen, and everybody goes there, and through a computer, they do the surgery. The doctor was great. Then in 2015 June, while I was on vacation, I had a heart attack. 4 of them. The first one, we thought it was a sunstroke because it was in June. And then they took me to a hospital in Hermosillo. And then I had 3 more. So that was pretty bad. They didn't know what to do with me. So my daughters, my son-in-law, my daughters-in-law, they took me to they brought me to San Diego, to the Sheriff Hospital. And then over there, I was there. I was like a frog. I was pretty big, My wife was there. Of course, she was with me all the time. And they give me a lot of things so they can get rid of the liquids. And then after 30 days with medicine, I went back, and he says, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. The medicines are not doing what they're supposed to do. Your heart is working only 18%. And so everybody was silenced. And I asked him, so what's next? How much life do I have left? And he says, 5 to 6 months. 5 to 6 months. And then I says, is there something else that I can do? Something that they can go through? And then they came up with this LVAD system, which is a metal pump into the heart. It has a computer in my stomach in here, not in my stomach, but in a bag, and a cable goes through my stomach and goes inside to the valve, to the pump, and the computer sends the signals, and it tells you if everything's if it is fine. I work with two powerful batteries, one on each side of my body, and then at night I plug into the wall to sleep. So it is kind of difficult, but I'm alive, and
Well,
it's gonna be 5 years now.
that's great. Well, I'm glad you're still with us. You're still kicking. I love it. You're an avid reader. You're an artist. You're a painter and photographer. You've also acted, written, and directed plays and movies. We have some pictures here of, I believe, the start of your career here.
Yes. Is it mute?
No.
No. Yes, that's when I won the best direction in Pasadena City College. Best direction for a movie called Halloween Night. This is my sheet that from my agent, Garrison International, for movies, acting, and doing things. What was that? This is a play from CBS, which is History of Mexico, and I was doing a Spanish priest or something like that. Mm-hmm.
That's great. We're having a little bit of audio feedback. Is there anything else you want to add, Mr. Munro?
Well, just to thank everybody, to thank my wife, my daughters, my sons, my granddaughters, to thank you for inviting me, and to thank the people who are watching and doing this, and of course to thank God for this opportunity, to thank my doctors and so many people that I am grateful.
I should mention that I have the pleasure of working closely with your daughter, Alex Monroe Rankin, who is our advertising art director. She's also extremely talented in her own right.
Something what?
You have a lot of talent in your family.
A lot of sons?
A lot of talent.
Oh yeah. Well, she's a graphic designer. I have two. One which it's a graphic designer, Hector, and then I have a illustrator and graphic designer, which is Guillermo Munro, which his artistic name is Memuco. He work in almost everywhere. He work in Dubai, in China, and the Dallas Morning News, and also in Tucson, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. No, Washington, D.C. No, state of Washington and Oregon. He work in almost every newspaper. Right now, he's only painting. He's doing painting and illustration in Mexico.
Right. Well, we should mention that people can still watch the film on Netflix and Amazon Prime. Thank you so much, Mr. Munro, for your time. It's been a pleasure. The 62nd Annual Ariel Awards will be held on September 20th during a virtual ceremony. And of course, we wish you the best of luck. We're all rooting for you.
Yes. Can I add something just very well? I'd like to say that this was done because of people that they knew, like the actress in the movie, the driver, which is Giovanna Zacarias. She is the one who read it first, and she passed it on to Alejandro Springle. And Alejandro Springle is a director and producer, very famous too. And also Alejandro gave it to Berta Navarro, which is the partner and producer of Guillermo del Toro in many movies. And the movie is made because of the people, everybody gets together and put something into the movie. So it's a group deal, It's not only me.
All right, thank you, sir. As I mentioned, I thought it was a great movie. It gives you a lot to think about, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you for breaking it down for us this afternoon. It's been a pleasure. And thank you at home for watching. Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Have you heard the news? There's a global health crisis going on right now. It's a deadly and highly contagious virus. They call it COVID-19. I'm Bill Walton, here with a challenge to all of you. We're having a contest sponsored by our San Diego Union-Tribune. Send us your ideas for different public service announcements, PSAs, or maybe your idea for a print ad, or a TikTok, or a social media video, whatever your means of communication are. And show us your thoughts on how we can all help stop the spread of COVID-19. The winner with the best idea gets $2,500. And I'm one of the judges. I'm talking to you. Wear a mask, practice social distancing, wash your hands, and be proactive on your own health.
Until we have a vaccine, masks and social distancing really are the best way to bend the curve. So next time you go out into public, remember, wear a mask. It's not about politics, it's about common sense.
We can stop the spread. We just have to distance, wash, and wear. We've got to stop the spread together, San Diego.
Together, San Diego. Let's get it done.